Hello everyone, welcome to another Patreon exclusive tutorial video. In this video, I'm going to be just painting this sketch that I did today. I'm going to be doing it in watercolor and gouache as always, but I'll be incorporating some mixed media things like pencil crayon and maybe fine liner. I haven't decided yet, but I think I will do a black outline on her. I'm also going to be incorporating these Fine-Tech colors, or these Coliro pearl colors, which I've been experimenting a lot with. The reason why is because I also want to incorporate it into my art, but I'm actually doing this sort of like image for my Instagram giveaway, which I am giving away a box of these guys. So I just want to make sure that I incorporate both watercolor and these pearl colors. So I'm just gonna get started actually. So I got my kneadable eraser, and something that I always typically do with my sketches is to just kind of erase the outline a little bit so it's very, very faint before I apply any watercolor. I've learned this the hard way. I didn't actually think about doing this before I would do some watercolor pieces, and I would always have like pencil marks directly below, which I actually couldn't get rid of after I put paint on it. So I try my best to always add or to take away some of the sketch work before I put paint down. Okay, and as always, I have my paper towel just to dab any paint, especially when I'm blending. I've got my brush here, which is the one that I always use, Da Vinci, and this is size 0. There are no smaller ones, but I'm sure you can find smaller kind of versions of this type of brush. And I've got the Schminke, or not Schminke, sorry, I've got the Shinhan Art watercolor, as well as the Shinhan Art kind of mix hybrid of watercolor and gouache. So we're just going to start mixing. So I'm actually not going to be doing underpainting for this one. We're just going to apply water. So I'm just going to dab. Once you apply water, I'm actually using, I don't remember what the technique is called, but you just put water onto the paper before you add color. And typically I do the opposite. I always end up just applying the colors straight on, kind of like dry paper. But in this case, we're just going to do wet. The reason why is because I actually want to have a very soft, subtle effect. I don't want to go full color with this one. We're just going to play around with the colors. So I'm just using here a bit of the red that is diluted with water, and there's a little bit of brown mixed into it. As always, if you're unsure, use a paper to test your colors, but I like this kind of subtle pink, so we're just going to apply it in some of the areas here. And I'm just going to be using like a dabbing motion just to get the color in. Dabbing motion actually allows you to control the color a little bit, especially when you have so much wet, like wet paper. We're just going to blend this a little bit here, like that. Just clean my brush, and then we're going to spread the color a little bit. This is sort of like just kind of working on the first layer. It's a very subtle effect. You're not going to see the color right off the bat, and that's the whole point of it. I'm going to add some on the nose. And yeah, just keep applying the color. We're going to keep some spots of the paper white, so this is going to be for the dramatic highlights, for example the cheek, the nose. I didn't leave some on the forehead, but there technically is around here as well. Alright, so let's wet the paper for the neck area. Ooh, I forgot to erase here. Add more water. And for this one, we're just going to paint it all pink. Okay. So while this dries, just kind of the first layer, while it dries, I kind of don't want the paper to dry fully. There's kind of an in-between stage of wet paper and when it's kind of just damp. So I'm just gonna wait for it to be a little bit more damp around the eyes before I add more color. But in the meantime, I'm just going to take a thinner brush and we're going to be mixing together some colors because I do want a darker eye. So let us mix together. We're going to be using red and we're going to be adding some of this kind of ochre color here. Just going to mix this in. And we're going to test it. It's definitely much more saturated than the pink. And this is sort of the look that I want. Maybe a little bit less saturated, but we can definitely spread. So right now, actually the paper is in the damp stage. And the damp stage allows you to like play around and kind of blend it with the first layer. So it's not totally dry. I don't know, it just makes it easier to just play around with the color a little bit more. Okay, and actually, believe it or not, the brush that I'm using right now is a very cheap brush. I got it from the Euro store, or like a very cheap Euro store. This was a tip that was given to me by an artist called Lioba Bruckner, and I do support her on Patreon because she's like one of my favorites and I love her way of painting. She mentioned that you can get these paintbrushes for €1, like a set of 5, at a store called Action in Germany. So they're very good actually. They do the job. And they have really nice sizes, like really tiny sizes, so I quite like that. I'm going to take my bigger brush here with more water. We're just going to blend the outside of this color that I'm adding here. So I don't want hard edges, I want very blended edges. I'm just going to bring that a little bit. So we'll do the other side. Now the other side is a bit darker, so we're going to apply more color here. It's in the shadows. And this can be more, it doesn't have to be that blended, so we're just going to keep it very, very kind of like a very strong shadow. And we're just going to mix a little bit more red into the ochre color. And while this is kind of in between the damp stage, it's a little bit still wet actually, but we can just apply a tad bit of color. Just kind of around. Same with the other side here. Just apply a bit more red so that it's a little bit more equal. I think I might blend a little bit of purple into the mix. Oops, I did an error. So when you do errors, because I did add some red here, which wasn't supposed to be, but because it's not dry, it's gonna go. You can just take a dry brush or a damp brush and you can pick the color up. Again, by just kind of going on top of it, like that. Just gonna clean this up a bit here. All right. Okay. So I think what we're gonna do is we're going to mix some purple or blue. I think I have purple. You don't see it on the camera. It's on the other side of this kind of palette thing. But I do have purple. So we're gonna mix purple here with some red, or the color that we've been using, to get a really dark color. So kind of like a blackberry color almost. And we're gonna be using this to add a lot more of the sort of, whatchamacallit, shadows. But before I do that, I just want to fix, because you can see here the hard edges, they're starting to dry. Like when you start to see hard edges around the watercolor, you can just touch up with the kind of a wet brush and just start to like blend the outside a bit, because I want to avoid hard edges. And this is actually the hardest thing that I struggle with the most, just to how to get it so blended, you know? Oh, there we go. So this orangey color that I'm using, I want to just apply it. So with the ochre and the red, I just want to apply it in the cheek area as well. kind of like here a little bit, just to give her like cheekbones. We're gonna want to blend this out a bit more. Apply a stronger color. And just blend it out. Sorry if you hear the dishwasher running in the background. I have it running. You might hear it, you might not, I don't really know. But it's running. Just kind of blend this out like that. Okay, so again, just to kind of go with this sort of look here, I want to keep hard edges on this side because of the shadows. So we're just going to maybe blend this out a little bit when it reaches this point, but on this side I want to keep it very hard, so this is okay. And we're just going to wait for this to dry before I add any more color. But now that this is kind of in a damp, oh, there's hard edges here. One sec. Just kind of apply more water, smooth this out. Smooth it out. I don't want any hard edges. Okay, so now that this is somewhat dry, a little bit damp, what we're going to do is take the smaller brush again, and we're going to use that purpley red kind of blackberry mix that I got here. Just going to take some color out because I don't want too much dramatic right away. We can go ahead and start to add more pop in color. Now, colors are typically strong around the eyes. I find that there's a lot of shadow that can be painted around the eyes, and you can really get a lot of expression with that. This is why I always tend to start to focus on the eye area before anything else. Just because it's just really nice. I love it. It's a really nice place to start. Just blend this out here. I find that these brushes, so these brushes are more expensive, obviously, compared to the €1 ones, but these ones probably go for about, if I can remember correctly, they're about €7, if not more, and they're definitely worth their price because I can just paint much differently than when I use these guys. So this is what I use all the time for my blending, are these ones. I also have a bigger one, which is this one here. And this is size 2, so there's a big difference between 0 and 2, but they're definitely worth it. So we're just going to blend a little bit more. We're going to keep adding color. So now we're just building color in and around the eyes. Just going to get my reference photo here. We want a nice deep purple. Yeah, kind of deep purple, I don't know. I like the blackberry, it's like a blackberry color. Blend, and it's a really nice stage here when it starts to just get damp. This is where you can achieve really nice blends. Okay. Can't forget the other side, and the other side can be very strong in color, so we're just gonna go with a full blackberry here. Ha, that's really dark. It's okay. I'm thinking maybe for the outline of the person, I might do like blackberry color instead of black, but I'm not so sure yet. Now, if you want the color to stay in one specific area, again, you can just use the dab motion. So I just dab in the area, especially when the paper's still damp. Then the watercolor will tend not to float around too much, especially if it's still damp. So yeah, that's something that I typically do. Again, we're just gonna use this brush to just soften some of the hard edges here. And also, you can also make use of your paper towel. Just dab a little bit. Like that. Okay, so this is nearly dry. We just want to smooth again here. Smooth, smooth, smooth. And we can start to add a bit more color. It's really strong. We're gonna add some color to the forehead area, so like the temple. Like that. Now, watercolor is a lot about multitasking because when, for example, the eyes, I'm waiting for the eyes to dry a little bit. And as the eyes are drying, I'm going to notice some hard edges start to form, and this is something you need to always monitor. You need to double check to see, like, oh, I need to like double check that, because if you don't want hard edges, you need to always be on it, but you gotta wait for it to dry. So in this process, this is something where I will typically avoid to use like a, I forget what they're called. It's not a hair dryer, but yeah, you can use hair dryers or one of those like, I don't know, it's like those dryer things for like crafts. I forget what they're called. But in this stage, I will tend to try not to use that because the watercolor will dry faster than you can fix it. So you just want to let it dry naturally if you're trying to avoid hard edges. Just gonna add more of the light pink on the nose area. Add more blackberry here in the edges of the face. Now we're going to add darker color around the nose. So with noses, I do like to work in 3 steps. Typically I don't feel like I need more than 3 steps. Maybe if I add a 4th step, like a 4th layer, it's definitely just to work on the surrounding kind of details, like the nostril, for example. But typically I will stick to 4 steps. And what I mean by 3 steps, sorry. And what I mean by that is like I have the first layer of color. I have that I apply keeping in mind with the highlights. So I leave the highlights white with the paper, and then I'll apply the second layer of color. That is basically kind of the mid-tone, and then I apply the last layer, which is the dark color, which is what I'm applying now. And I probably won't darken it, maybe just around the bottom a little bit, but that depends on how dark I go with the rest of the painting. But that's how I typically do it for the nose. I don't add much more. Like eyes, I will add a lot more detail, and typically I do this with pencil crayon and also with fine liner. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm just going to outline the outside of his face. Oh. 1 second, I could cut this out a bit. Okay, so I'm just mixing more color of the blackberry color, so basically the red, the purple, and the ochre, and we're just going to make some of these shadows more prominent, especially underneath the chin area. I'm just going to play a lot with these shadows. We're going to smooth it out, and the way I usually do this is to like apply a pretty thick color or like a big area to basically cover it, and then I use water dab it on the paper towel and just basically just kind of blend it out. That's how I basically control these shadows, especially if I'm applying larger, like I have to cover larger areas of color. I will start off a little bit slow like that, rather than just kind of like focus on blending right away. I just apply the color where I need it and then I blend after. Okay, we're just gonna keep it like that. We're gonna apply also color here. I should probably try to erase a little bit more of the sketch. But also, her chest is kind of in sight in this one, so I am trying to incorporate more bodies in my work, and that does include chest or breasts, and I just want to include it into the sort of painting. I think it's really pretty, rather than just having faces all the time, so I try to incorporate a little bit of it. But in this case we just have like one, and then she has like parts of her bra showing here, or maybe bustier or whatever you want to call it. We're just gonna apply more color on her shoulder area. I should probably erase this. This is really strong, but I think it'll be fine when I apply color to the leaves. Okay, so I'm gonna be applying a little bit more red here. We're applying a bit more red, and we're going to start applying it on some of the really hard shadows, especially in the cheekbone area. Just kind of blend this out a little bit more underneath the jaw. I apologize if you hear my babies eating. They are having dinner right now. They're eating some lettuce and some dried wheat sticks, actually. It's like legit wheat from the fields. They love it. Okay, we're going to apply color on this end of the face. There we go. Alright, so while we wait for that to dry, again, we're just gonna repeat what I've been doing for the past, or for the entire tutorial. Just keep applying layers, and that's what watercolor is all about. So we're gonna remix some purple, some reds. And this time, I think we're gonna go one step further. We're gonna be adding some of the brown here. I forget what color this is. I forget what brown. It's kind of like a chestnut, maybe. Ooh, I applied way too much there. But that's okay. We need a strong color. Okay, now for the strong color, this is something that's going to be used as little as possible, and we're just going to apply a layer, like a thick layer like that, and we're going to blend it out in the brush, and then just kind of blend it out a little bit. We want this to mix into the purple layer that I added, or the reddish purple, the blackberry. I was calling it blackberry. But basically, these are going to be extremely strong shadows that just kind of blend outwards. Add a little bit under the eye. And do this side. I actually think I'm going to be using this color as an outline. So we're just going to outline parts of the face already. And this can be changed later on. I typically do this. This is actually something that I've been doing more and more often rather than going straight for the fine liner. So I will use the dark color that I'm using for the shadows and use it as an outline method rather than just having black. And this is really nice if you just want to have a very nice kind of delicate touch to your portrait rather than black, because black can come off as very harsh. But this looks pretty decent. I think it's not so bad. Now for the lips are always a hard color to get because I either do them a little bit too saturated or like bright compared to the skin tone. So I always try to get a more natural color for the lips, and I still haven't found the right formula in terms of the color that I should be using. But I know that typically there's some red to it, and there's some kind of it's not a brown, it's more of an orangey, I don't know, I think this color here is more like it, and this is more of an orange. Honestly, I forget the color names. I'm gonna get the color names and put them in the post so you guys can see which colors I'm using. I forget them right now. But if you mix a bit of red with this orangey color, it does become like a natural peach kind of color. We could test it here. And this might be a little bit too strong right off the bat. So we're just gonna dilute it with some water. And we're just gonna dab a bit more. And I'm just gonna go ahead and apply one layer. That's all we need for now. And here you can also mind the highlights of the lips. So you can keep the paper white if you want. The upper lip is going to be a bit darker anyway, so we're just going to leave it like that. I'm not sure if... Yeah, I think okay. I think that's fine. Alright, alright, alright. I'm not sure if that's the natural color I want it. I want it a little bit dark, a little bit more brown tones, but we can maybe apply that afterwards, so it's not that big of a deal. Oh, sorry, my rabbit's digging right now. Okay, so now in terms of the eyes, so I want to start applying more to the eyes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take actually my Faber-Castell Polychromos, and this is the indigo color. This is the typical color that I tend to stick to instead of black, because it just works really well with skin tones. Alright, so in terms of the eye, so with watercolor, I think we're pretty much almost done in terms of the eye sort of details. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go from here on out with the Polychromos, and we're just going to darken some of these shadows up and try to get a really nice blend that just makes things a little bit more realistic. So I'm using the burnt umber color, and this works really well with the purples, like the purple tones that I was using. So we're just gonna basically try to go as light as possible here. I don't want to use too much pressure, otherwise it just doesn't look that blended, doesn't look that nice. So we're just gonna use very, very delicate hand gestures, just very, very softly. This side doesn't really need it as much. I think it's just this side. What we're gonna do at the same time, we're gonna end up mixing a little bit of the purple. So this is from my Luminance collection from Caran d'Ache. This is the violet brown. And we're just going to add a bit more emphasis on this. And this really brings out the color, which is really nice. So you can see it's getting already a bit darker. I don't want to go too dark. This is the thing I have to watch out for because I always do that. So we want to try to keep it to a minimum, even though it's a bit hard for me. I think this is okay though. Alright, so let's do the same for underneath the nose. I think I did that a little too dark. Oh gosh, okay. It's okay, it's okay. You can have strong shadows. I'm going to bring, in this case, the lighter purple here, the oh my gosh, manganese violet, just to bring a shadow down on the nose. This is a really nice purple that mixes well with the kind of light skin tone that I created. I'm just gonna bring it just brings a touch of color to it, which is quite nice. We're going to add it to the shadows of the nose as well. I still haven't decided what kind of hair color she's gonna have, so this is like completely undecided. No idea. I think we're gonna just stick to kind of the blue, purple, brown tones. I'll see if I can do something with it. I'm not so sure. I think we can darken the eyes a little bit on this side. We're gonna bring in some purple. Like that. Okay, so we got something happening, like it's starting to come together in terms of the detail. We're gonna try to apply the same detail, but I think we can darken the face here with watercolor first before we apply pencil crayon. So we're gonna go again with our blackberry color, and we're just going to apply some color here. Ooh, we didn't use enough water. Tap that a little bit and kind of spread that out. Might be a bit too dark, but I think it's okay. Actually, we're gonna use this brush here. Just kind of spread this out a bit more. I think I let it sit. Ah, we can work it in. Yeah, it's fine. Just gonna bring in the shadow here. That. Apply a bit more color. And now we're just gonna blend out the hard edges, but I'm probably gonna have to watch this before it fully dries while I work on other details. Just gonna want to bring a shadow up on the forehead as well, because technically the hair is going to be providing a shadow here. So we're just gonna add that. I think we can add more shadow below here. think I just might add touches of the dark chrome yellow, which is something that I use quite frequently. I'm not sure if I have a different color that's a bit light. I think this is okay though. I'm just gonna add a bit of the orange. Now, it's very important because this color is quite strong, so it's very important just to kind of shade in some of the shadows, just very, very lightly. Kind of around some of the eye area. This does bring another kind of dimension to the skin. It does make it look a little bit more alive. And we can do the same around the nose area. Don't want to do too much around the nose. I think I've already kind of ruined it. Going to sharpen my indigo. Okay, so we're going to add more definition to the lips, and I'm just going to mix some of the brown with the peachy color that I created, and we're just going to try to get, I'm going for a natural look here. I don't want anything too dramatic. So we're going to color the upper lip, and we're going to add shadow to the bottom lip. I think I'm just going to shade this in a bit. Oh gosh, wait. I'm just gonna use water and just spread the color a bit more. Okay, it's a bit, I mean, that's okay. Now, I was debating whether or not to do the actual pupils of the eyes. I think we're gonna do it. I like the sort of soulless look, but I think in this case we're just gonna add I'm gonna have to redraw this a little bit more. I can never get it right, especially at this angle. This is a very tricky angle for me to get the eyes right. I think this is the one that needs a little bit more work. I'm just gonna erase that and try again. Oh gosh, I'm not so sure if that's, I think the bottom needs to be a little bit more angular. Yeah, it's really hard for me. I can't do it. I mean, I can do it. I can do it. I just gotta keep telling myself I can do it. Okay, so the eyebrows, I think we're just gonna go for a kind of reddish brown look. We're just gonna keep it very simple, nothing too crazy. I'm just going to apply a color first, and then we're going to work on the definition of the eyebrows afterwards. It's just to kind of get, she has really long eyebrows. I think I did them a bit too long, but that's okay. Everyone's different. Long eyebrows are pretty cool. Yeah, I think her eyes, yeah, they look cross-eyed. I need to fix that. I need to fix that. Yeah, that's bad. Okay, so for the lips, we're just gonna keep applying. I think here in the lip case, we're gonna apply some of the purple again, and maybe more of a brown, kind of the tone I've been using the entire time. Yeah, definitely gonna fix those eyes. Oh my gosh, they look so silly. Okay, there we go. Just gonna blend this a little bit more. Oh my gosh, those eyes, they're driving me nuts. I'm just gonna erase the eyes. Honestly, I like the blank look. I haven't drawn a character that was with that sort of look in a very long time, so I think I just might keep it. However, I do want to add some eyelashes. We don't have any eyelashes happening yet. I don't know if you can see it. This one, I think I messed up. Woo! Oh my gosh, okay. Yeah, I think I did too much. Oh gosh. This is okay, it's okay, it's okay. Sometimes when I do that, when I go a little bit too crazy with the eyelashes, I will then take white gouache and I'll try to fix it by adding kind of a light, I don't know if you can see that, it's like a white line, which sometimes appears as a actual highlight in the eye area. And it could technically kind of fix it, but it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. Like, I think in this case it's just a lost cause. I think I did it a little bit too much. Yeah. Okay. Just try to make it look like eyeliner maybe. I don't know. Alright, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so let's focus on, we're just going to bring in some of the, kind of the shadow under her nose a little bit more prominent. Oh man, I just keep messing up that eye. Alright, that's let's just leave it. Okay, so we're just gonna leave that. Let's add the shadow between the lips here. Just gonna color in a little bit more of the purple. Okay, let's go for the pupil. Let's see. We're gonna leave that to last minute. I don't want to mess with it because I know I'm gonna mess it up. Okay, so let's work on the eyebrows very quickly. We're gonna give her some lashes or some brow lashes, or how do you say it, like eyebrow hairs. And for this I just kind of I can't talk and draw at the same time. This I basically put my pencil to a point, the burnt umber, and I just simulate like hair. So I try to just do hair a couple different directions. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is what eyebrows are. And we just apply it on top. The trick here is to make the eyebrow hair kind of go outside of the color or the sort of watercolor that you added already. And to basically just, yeah, make it a little bit imperfect. That is the trick. Okay, so I'm thinking of just doing the indigo highlight or outline. Yeah, I think we're just gonna go with indigo for the outline. As mentioned, this is an alternative for instead of black because it just works really well with the skin tones. Yeah, there we go, that looks better. I'm gonna do it on this side too. I actually have been experimenting a lot with not placing it everywhere. For example, I'll just place it in some of the really dark areas and let some of the brown come into play in areas. I think it's actually a really nice mix and it works quite nicely. Now for the cheekbone, so the cheeks, we can apply some more color here, some more purples. We can probably spread this purple out a bit more too here. Kind of like that. Apply it here as well. Now we can just apply a bit more purple. And I'm going to incorporate a bit of the orange again. Like that. And now we're going to add some of the darker purples. I'm just going to do a bit of a crosshatch here. Just kind of in the thick of things. We just want to get a really nice deep color. Okay, now we're just gonna add a bit of brown. So we're just gonna outline here a bit of brown. So under the chin. Oh no. Like that.